Hello, welcome. This time we're going to continue our Bible study series on hell. And yeah, the last video kind of ended abruptly, but I did finish my main point. I was talking about Luke chapter 16. And now I didn't actually lay out the full sermon. I just started preaching, but this Bible study actually has 6 points to it. So I'm actually still in the first point. And the first point is that hell is real. So that's my first point, that hell is real. I'm going to continue with that. And then my second point, which we'll get to eventually in another video, is that hell is eternal. My third one is that there is no escape from hell. That's my third point. My fourth point is that, who goes there? That's going to be my fourth point, talking about who goes there. My fifth point is that you deserve it. That's my fifth point, whether you acknowledge that or not. That's my fifth point, that you deserve it. And my sixth point is that how not to go there. That's where we get to the positive, the gospel, like how do you not go to hell? So anyway, this is going to be a long Bible study series, but anyway, 6 points. So we're still on the first point, that hell is real. First, we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that hell is real. That's the very first thing we have to point out. So, so once you've acknowledged, I'll put this here. Yeah. Once you've acknowledged that hell is real, that's the first thing you do. Once you've acknowledged that, then only then can you move on and have a, that's how you're gonna get saved. If you don't fear hell, then yeah, things won't end well for you. So just definitely. There's different ways to reach Jesus, to get to Jesus, right? Jesus has to use fear for some people. For some people, love is enough. If love is enough, great. But, it doesn't change reality. Like, people still have to know about hell. Like, that's what you're getting saved from, right? You're not just going to heaven. Like, you're not just going to heaven. You're getting saved from hell. That's the important part. You're getting saved from hell. So first... Let's go to Jonah chapter 2. Jonah chapter 2, verses 1 through 6. This is an important passage. It got kind of cut off last time, but I'm going to continue with it. So Jonah chapter 2, verses 1 through 6. So let's go. So yeah, Jonah chapter 2, verses 1 through 6. So this is going to be kind of a controversial opinion. It's not really an opinion. I'm going to say it's a fact, but hey, you might argue. But this is actually talking about hell. John chapter 2, verses 1 through 6. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly, and said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. Verse 3. For thou hadst cast me into the deep, in the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed me about. All thy billows and thy waves passed over me. Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple. Verse 5, the waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The depth closed me round about. The weeds were wrapped about my head. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. So yeah, there's a lot to say here, a lot to analyze. Like, it's interesting. Like, the Bible is a very deep book, very huge book. It's been around for 3,500 years since Moses wrote the first 5 books. And yeah, some of these books haven't been around as long. Like, this is Jonah, but that's still at least 2,500 years, 2,600, something like that, 2,700 maybe years since, this is when this was all happening. I forget the exact date, 600, 700 BC, somewhere around there. And there's still, like, even though all of this has been written down for a long time, there's still discrepant, there's still arguments about, what does the Bible say? And there's all these like hidden things within the Bible that people miss all the time. And it's like, it's been written down for 2,500 years or more. Like, how do you miss it? And yet people do, because, it could be that God literally seals people's eyes. Like, people don't see it. It's like written down, but it's not. It's not. People don't see it, even though it's written. It's been written down the whole time. And you know, maybe the rapture date is in the Bible, and we just don't know it. And no one will until God says it's time for us to know when that date is. Until then, it will be hidden. It will be sealed, even though it's written in there, but no one will notice it. And it's just interesting how that works in Bible prophecy. So here in Jonah, you have something you have clearly laid out, like it's talking about hell, and I wonder how many people have talked about that Jonah actually went to hell. Like, how many people know about that? It's in the Bible, like it's literally written down there. He's talking about being in hell. Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly. So the fish's belly, so the fish is the whale. So I think I don't know if it got cut off in the previous video, but you know, I did mention that according to the Bible, a whale is a fish, and it's a mammal. You know, calling a whale a mammal, that's a modern definition because of modern ideas of what they define mammals and fish at. Okay, but back when the King James is written, you know, a whale was a fish. Calling a whale a mammal, that's a modern idea. That's not how it was in the past. So, so anyway, that's kind of off topic, but just letting you know, like the Bible's not always going to define things the way you define them. And I said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. So he said he cried out of the belly of hell. Now, you can take that as you will. I generally take the Bible literally. So in the Bible, you generally want to take it literally. Like whatever's written down, you want to take it the way it's written. If it's impossible, then you take it figuratively. So the problem is sometimes people take literal passages and they make it figurative. They're like, well, the Bible didn't really mean that. It's just figurative. It's a figure of speech. And the reason they say that is because they can't make it work. Like it doesn't make sense to them why it says what it says. They don't understand the context. But most of the time, the Bible is actually literal. So yeah, and it's not. It's only you only make it figurative if it's impossible to make it literal. Like there's just no way this is literal. Like it doesn't go with the Bible. It contradicts other verses. You know, it's a figure of speech. Then you make it figurative. You know, it's an or it's like an allegory or something. So otherwise, you take it literally. You should take the Bible literally, and that's part of the problem. Is people don't take it literally, and then ideas in the Bible are lost, doctrines are lost. So this is a very important example of this. Is how you get things flipped. Is when Jesus Christ said, this wine is my blood and this bread is my body. Right, okay. That's figurative. He's not saying this wine literally churns into my blood. And he wasn't saying this bread literally churns into flesh, like human flesh. So so that was like one of the rare times it's figurative. Like most of the time the Bible is like literal, like you take it exactly the way it says. But this time it's figurative. So guess what the Catholic Church does? They flip it. It's figurative and they make it literal. So you have this Catholic belief called transubstantiation, where they believe that Jesus is like when you drink the wine at communion, or then it changes into Christ's blood. And then when you eat the bread, it turns into Christ's flesh. I don't even get how that works, but that's definitely anti-biblical. First of all, that goes against so many different principles of Judaism in the Old Testament. It just doesn't work on any. It doesn't work on any level whatsoever. You're not supposed to drink blood. That was completely against the Old Testament, and you're not supposed to be eating human flesh. That's cannibalism. So that's just crazy. So this is just a good example of like people messing up doctrines. So I probably want to do a series on that. Like I'm going a little off topic, but I'm gonna do a series at some point on this, on different heresies, and how like people like twist the verse slightly and then they get like completely like messed up. Like they just get a heresy just from like slightly altering like one verse or something. And that's why we have all these denominations. They all come from reading verses out of context, misapplying scripture. Like just one important concept for you to understand is that every heresy, every lie is going to have some truth to it. A lie only sounds convincing if there is some aspect of truth. Those are the best lies. Those are the most deceptive lies. That's how Satan lies to you. That's how Satan lied to Eve. He just twisted the truth slightly. So, anyway, that could be like a whole nother video. But I'm just letting you know, like this is literal. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm taking it literal. That Jonah went to a literal hell. That's basically what I'm trying to get at here. Jonah went to a literal hell. So in the belly of hell cried I, thou heardest my voice. So God heard Jonah's cry out of hell. And he was in his affliction, and he heard me. For thou hast cast me to the deep in the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed me about. All thy billows and thy waves passed over me. Okay, so he's all of that. And yes, like I said, I don't remember if this got cut off in the last video, but Jonah went into the belly of the whale, and there have been cases of people surviving inside a whale. I've heard some story like that. That was actually possible to survive 3 days inside a whale. It sounds crazy, but apparently someone survived that. So that's what people believe, that Jonah survived this, and you could say, yeah, you can make the argument. Okay, God supernaturally protected Jonah, and Jonah survived, but here in the context, it makes it look a little different, though, because it does actually talk about hell here. Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple. Very interesting. Okay, so Jonah has a change of heart. He starts repenting. He's like, okay, I'm cast out, but I'm going to look towards your holy temple. The waters compassed me about, even to the soul, though depth closed me round about, the weeds were wrapped about my head. So the depth, okay. So, I mean, you could still say this is talking about the ocean, but then once you get to verse 6, this is where it gets interesting. It's where you have to ask yourself, am I going to take this literally or figuratively? Verse 6, I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. Okay, so this is really, you have to ask yourself, am I going to take this literally or figuratively? So if you take it literally, then yes, he went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Bars in heaven, I mean, not in heaven, in hell, bars down there. So you have to remember in the previous Bible study I did, I talked about Abraham's bosom and how it was next to hell. So he went down into hell, like literally, like the bottom, lake of fire. So if you actually believe that this is a physical location on earth, in the bottom where you have like molten magma, which sounds crazy, because I think like a lot of people, when they think about hell, they think it's some kind of they think it's somewhere else, like in some kind of spiritual realm. And when they think of heaven, they probably think of some spiritual realm. But in the Bible, if you look at the references, actually, hell could be made out to be an actual physical location on earth, and heaven is an actual physical location way out in outer space, because it keeps talking about the north. When it talks about heaven, it talks about the north, how you're going to go up north, and that's what makes it very interesting. So it's like it's an actual physical location. Now it's so far away, you're never going to get there on any spaceship, and I have no I mean, we're stuck on this earth. We have no idea what's in outer space. It's enormous. And that domain, it's God doesn't really want us messing with that domain. I don't know what we would find if once we get off this planet. We made it to the moon. That's about it. I don't know how much farther the Lord's gonna let us. I don't know if He's gonna let Elon Musk get to Mars. I don't know. That would be interesting. I'd like to see what happens, but yeah, just know, there are restrictions, and I honestly, I think the Lord's going to come back before Elon can do that. But hey, that's just we'll see. So anyways, talking about bars. So he's actually so this is an actual physical location, like a physical hell. And interestingly enough, yes, the earth has a bunch of molten magma, like lava under the ground. I mean, literally, it's a burning ball of fire. That's what's powering this planet. So if you liken that to hell, which it makes sense if you think about it logically, yeah, it's on Earth. Your soul, if you're going to hell, your soul's going down there, and you're on the same planet, right? It makes sense. But I don't think people think about that. I think they just think of it like it's some kind of spiritual realm, and that's hell. So. Yeah, because I don't think some people actually think about that kind of stuff. Where is heaven? Where is hell? They think it's some kind of other dimension or something. But that might not necessarily be the case. So I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, Lord my God. So this is going to be another controversial idea. So this whole passage could create a lot of controversy because I'm bringing up stuff a lot of people would never think about, and if you brought it up, it would probably go against a whole bunch of traditions, And anyway, you can do your own research. You can study this out, pray about it. But here it says. Basically, the Lord, if you're saying that Jonah went to hell and he literally, was in hell, I don't know for how long, maybe it was just 3 days. Maybe, at what point he died, maybe it was just 2 or 3 days. And he let him out. God let Jonah out, which is really crazy, that God let Jonah out. And it's he actually had mercy on him and let him out. I don't expect that to happen to anyone else, really. Now, Jesus went down into the heart of earth and he came up. And it's interesting that was also a 3-day thing. He was dead for 3 days and went up. So it's interesting that Jesus went to hell and got out to bring up the people, for a different purpose. And then Jonah went to hell and got out. So very few people, there's 2 examples. One is God himself and the other one is just some mortal man, Jonah. And if you do believe that Jonah actually went to hell, then you get some, it's a crazy belief. Then that would be the one person God actually let out that deserved to go there. Jonah deserved to go there, and God had mercy on him because he had a reason for it. He had a purpose. Now, I don't expect any exceptions like that to ever be made again. I don't expect that. So if you haven't trusted Jesus Christ as your Savior, I do not expect you to be an exception to the rule. You need Jesus Christ to go to heaven. That's it. I don't expect any other exceptions to be made. Jonah wasn't even saved. Jonah was in the Old Testament anyway, so he wasn't trusting in Jesus Christ to begin with. It was following the law and conscience and all that. So don't expect any kind of exception. Hell is a real place, and people do go there, so you don't want to go there. This is just goes to show there's one interesting aspect of hell being mentioned. So yes, Jonah went there, and anyway, I can go. Jonah's story is very interesting. I don't have time to go into his entire life story. He's a very interesting character. It's very rare that you meet someone that is so negative. God is trying to help them, and they are just deliberately so negative. I'm going to go against the Lord. I'm going to go in the opposite direction. Just bitter. It's very rare you meet someone quite as bitter as Jonah. And God even let him out of hell. God was super merciful to him, and he was just. It just shows that's God's mercy. God was very merciful to Jonah, and he just didn't. He was still mad. So yeah. Anyway, it's talking about hell, so you can do your own research. But anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up. That's kind of what this channel is about. It's it's questioning traditions and teaching people the Bible, and you can do your own research. I'm not. It's in the Bible. We're using the same Bible, right? Well, so we're supposed to be using the same Bible. So whatever I bring up, you can find it. You can research it. You can study it. Let's bring up another passage. There's my first point. My second point is that hell is eternal. So Matthew 25. Matthew 25. Matthew chapter. Wait. Let's do this. Yeah. So Matthew chapter 25, verse 41. 25:41. Then shall he say unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. Another good verse. So everlasting. So heaven's everlasting, right? That's mentioned. Heaven's everlasting. The fire of hell is everlasting. That's what it says. I would like to think it's purgatory and that it's temporary and that it just goes away. And no, it says everlasting. That's infinity. I don't have any other way to define everlasting than forever. I can't even mentally comprehend that. You can't mentally comprehend that. What is that? Our lifetimes are 80 years, maybe if we're super healthy, 90, 100 years, and that's it. That sounds like a long time, but still goes by pretty fast. That's what a lot of people say. And that's all we can comprehend. We can comprehend that. We can comprehend our lifetime. We can probably comprehend maybe human history, the last couple thousand years. I would say 6,000 years. We can still comprehend that. Like, that's human history. That makes sense. If you're evolutionist, you'll talk about millions of years, but you can't actually comprehend millions of years. You just throw out giant numbers, but you can't actually comprehend that. So you talk about millions and billions of years. So even if the evolutionists were right, which they're not, and the Big Bang Theory people, then, okay, the Earth is like 14, the universe is 14 billion years old. That 14 billion still doesn't even compare to infinity, which is just how frightening this is. Infinity, like the 14 billion years, doesn't even compare to the infinity, and that is what's scary. That is what that is what people should fear. That is why you should witness to people. That now, if they don't want to listen to you, that's off you. But your job is to, as a Christian, is to let people know. Your job is to witness. Your job is to let people know, to notify people. That's your job. What people do with the information you give them, that's a whole other story. You can only do what God called you to do to the best of your ability. But your job is to do it. So now we have 25:41. Yeah, so it's Matthew 25:41. And depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. Yes, so I'd also like to comment on that. It says that hell is prepared for the devil and his angels. It's an important point to understand. Before Adam and Eve fell, Satan, or like Lucifer, had fallen already, and he took, I think it was a third of all the angels with him. So there was already a giant group of beings that were sinners. They weren't even humans. Like, before the humans sinned, sin already existed. Sin entered into mankind with Adam and Eve, yes, but sin already existed. Lucifer, you could say. I mean, from what I see from the Bible, you could say Lucifer was the first sinner. I don't know if that's true, but based on what we have in the Bible, that's the first, like, chronologically, that would be the first sin. Is the first sinner would be Lucifer, so the king of sinners, and he took a bunch of people with him. He started a rebellion, and he's still going to continue rebellions, and he's going to continue rebelling against God, and he's going to lose. And the book of Revelation talks about how Satan's going to lose in the future again. So he lost back then. He probably tried to start a war against God. Obviously lost. I don't know why you would try to fight God. And anyway, there was a destruction. I won't go into all the details, but some people say there was an earth that was already destroyed before Adam and Eve. There are facts to that. I don't have all the verses to defend that right now and all that, but that's another belief there, that there was an earth before Adam and Eve, and it was destroyed. And that it was so the earth that where we live on was like recreated from that old earth. And that's also where some people say, like, oh, maybe that's where we get the billions of years. The current earth, that's 6,000 years, but we had, like, maybe millions and billions of years before that. So people get like all these ideas that maybe they support the Bible, maybe they don't. I just go with the Bible. I just believe it's 6,000 years. I don't have any problem believing that. If there was like a previous Earth and there was like a gap in there where there's like millions of years, hey, that could work too. I don't know. I mean, if which would be cool, because that would explain why scientists think it's millions and billions of years, right? Like, God's right. Basically, that's where we start. The Bible's right. God's right. If science confirms the Bible, great. If it doesn't, they're wrong. Basically, that's all you have to go off of. And anything they say, like in science, that's false, it can be proven wrong. Like anything with billions and millions of years, any of that carbon dating, it doesn't work. It's been proven wrong. They're going to keep pushing it down your throat. They're going to keep saying it's science. It's not science. It's been proven wrong so many times. But they'll keep teaching it, even though it's been proven wrong. They'll keep teaching evolution, even though it's been proven wrong. Even though everybody knows it's a theory, they'll still keep teaching it. It's a religion. Science is a religion. Okay, so the science that they believe, the evolutionists, the people building Big Bang Theory, that's a religion. It's not science. It's a religion. You need to understand that. You can do your own research, so we don't have time to get into that. But anyway, before I get too off topic again, so hell is prepared for the devil and his angels. That's basically what I was trying to get at, is hell is prepared for the devil and his angels. That is who was supposed to go there. Lucifer and his angels were the first sinners. They were supposed to go there. Hell was prepared for them. We got dragged along. Lucifer tried to drag us along. Satan tried to drag us along. So he got Eve and Adam, Adam and Eve, to sin so that he could drag them with him. That's basically all Lucifer, that's all Satan can do now. Satan knows he's lost. He already knows the future, but he will put up a fight. He will keep fighting, and he will keep dragging every single last person with him. He will drag as many people into hell as he possibly can. That's who you're dealing with. You're dealing with someone who is sadistic and cruel. More sadistic and cruel than any human you can think of. If you think Hitler and Stalin were bad, no, Satan's worse. Satan is much worse. Satan wouldn't just, Satan isn't just satisfied with killing you. No, no, he wants you in hell. He wants you burning eternally. That's what Satan wants. So simply killing you, that's not enough. Okay. That's only, torture, whatever. That's just for your life, your lifetime. No, he's thinking on a much bigger scale than Hitler and Stalin could ever. That's how sadistic and evil Satan is. And and he used those men, obviously. Hitler and Stalin were definitely used by Satan quite strongly. I mean, that's the only conclusion you can come with. Acting like that isn't even normal for man. Like, there has to be some kind of spiritual power that would cause a man to be so wicked. It's not natural. We're sinners, but yeah, at some point it's like, wow, this guy's just ridiculous, just evil and sadistic. So that's what hell was for. Hell was for the devil and his angels. God does not want you to go to hell. He does not want you in hell. So you want to get out of there, and you don't want to go to hell. You need to warn people about it. So it was prepared for the devil's angels. God is not willing that any should perish. Man was not supposed to go to hell. That was not the original intent. Obviously, God knew the future, but originally that wasn't. Humans were not supposed to be making home in hell, but unfortunately that's what's happening now. Many, many souls are making their home in hell. And Lucifer and Satan's laughing. Satan's laughing. So you want to let people know. This is sermons for Christians, for non-Christians, for everybody, just to know. This is what the Bible says about hell. So let's see. Let's do Jude 6 and 7. Yeah, just so I can finish off this point here. Jude. Let's do Jude. Jude verses 6 and 7. That way we could do this in... Yeah, so my second point, we're still on my second point, is that hell is eternal. So Jude verses 6 and 7, what do we have here? Yeah, we still got time. So Jude verses 6 and 7. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Okay, yeah, so that I thought this was just going to be like a passage, like a short little passage. No, this one, that could be its own video, like literally all this stuff here. So yeah, I think I'm going to say a few things here, but yeah, I'm going to start my next video with that verse. There is quite a lot to say here. Angels which kept not their first estate. I'll just give a quick summary. Angels which kept not their first estate. That's talking about those angels from like Genesis 6 that came down to earth mixed with the women. Yeah, whole lot of stuff there. Anyway, so see, I'm bringing up a lot of stuff like a lot of people probably have never heard of. But it's in the Bible. Like literally this is in the Bible. You can look this up. And you can ask questions. Like you can ask yourself, like, why is this in the Bible? Why have I not seen this before? It's literally in the Bible. And you can, check this out. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. So that's pretty much what I was talking about just now, is that those angels that fell with Satan, they're going down into hell. those are the everlasting chains here. Angels which kept not their first estate. So the first estate, being in heaven, and they fell with Satan and they came down on earth mixed with the, earthly women. This is before the flood, during the times of, Adam and Eve, after they sinned, but before the flood. So you got these like giants, Genesis 6 talks about these giants, men of renown, which are not just regular men. These are like literal giants. It says giants, okay? It doesn't mean, it literally says giants. So you have to take the Bible literally. It literally says giants. So we're talking about these so that's where you get like these mythological figures like Zeus and all that. I think I mentioned that in a previous video. But yeah, like that's where you get all these mythological ideas from mythology, is these super, beings with supernatural powers. Some say that's how the pyramids got built. The pyramids got built before the flood. That could be a whole other thing. There's so many theories about the pyramids. Aliens built them. Anyway, the Bible's, looking at it from a biblical perspective, you could say those pyramids got built by those giants. That would make a lot of sense, right? Because the Egyptians definitely didn't build them. That's been proven so many times over. The Egyptians did not have the technology to build those pyramids. The scientists, like archaeologists, are still confused about how those pyramids in Egypt got built. They do not have a clear answer. It's just ridiculous. Like we have solved so much. Like science and archaeology has solved so many mysteries of the universe, and yet these pyramids elude them. They don't understand these pyramids. Like who built these pyramids? So yeah, that's it. So yeah, I'm kind of like, wow, I'm just rambling on. Maybe I will, I'll cover this. Maybe make this video a little longer. So yeah, under darkness unto the judgment of the great day, he reserved. Yeah, so those angels that fell. This is from Genesis 6. They fell, and it's reserved for them and Satan. That's what hell is for. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. This will be a very controversial verse. It'll be topics that people aren't. If you're woke, you really won't like what I can say about that. Unfortunately, YouTube is woke too, so I don't know how much freedom I have to talk about this topic, but they gave themselves over to fornication. So yeah, they're just having sex like crazy, and not just like people they get weird ideas. They're getting weird ideas about what they're doing. Going after strange flesh and set forth an example of serving the vengeance. Okay, so the strange flesh, that could be like anything. Like we don't know. Maybe they're homosexual. Like yeah, I mean we know Sodom and Gomorrah, they're homosexual, obviously. That's pretty obvious from the text. You can see that. Okay, yeah, so I got a little cut off there. So yeah, I should have already ended this video, but I'm just gonna say a few more things just to wrap up this topic. So yeah, I'm not gonna go too off, but yeah, here in verse 7 it talks about Sodom and Gomorrah, and how they give themselves over to fornication, strange flesh. That could be its own video, a topic, but the Bible's pretty clear what it says about homosexuality. I mean, there's no, you can twist all the verses you want, but the Bible's pretty clear about it. So anyway, and this is obviously not the only category of people in hell. There's plenty of people in hell. There's multitudes, there's thousands of different sins. This is just one of them, one of the many sins that exist. And going after strange flesh. So strange flesh, that could be all sorts of things. Like that could be either homosexual, that could be animals, which unfortunately that was happening. Like I'm not making this up. The Bible talks about this stuff. Strange flesh and set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. So this is just one aspect of sin and the city. So it's actually interesting because here it says even as Sodom and Gomorrah. So this is actually talking about how the angels that came down with Lucifer on earth, they could have been doing these things. Yeah, the angel, like the fallen angels with that went with Satan, they could have been committing all these sins. Like, they're sleeping around with all these women, creating these like giant gods, and that makes a lot of sense because if you look at the Greek gods, they have like no morals whatsoever. Like, it's actually kind of an interesting point. I never thought about that, but it is crazy because you got like Zeus and you got all those gods. If you read about their stories, they're very amoral people. That they just do whatever they want. They're like celebrities. So it actually makes sense that these fallen angels with Satan, they're just doing whatever they want. They have all this power on earth, and yeah, they're just doing all sorts of crazy, ridiculous, evil, wicked sins. And then, of course, I'm really going off topic. Like this could be its own topic about like where did those angels go? Did they go to the planets? And this is getting into like speculation territory, and like we don't know, like where are these fallen angels? Are they in Jupiter? Are they on Jupiter? Or are they in other planets? Well, and that's good. This gets into pretty crazy stuff, which can't be proven. We don't have information on this stuff, but you can't hypothesize about these things because they had to go somewhere. These fallen angels and Satan, they had to go somewhere, right? They didn't just vanish out of existence. So yeah, but we don't really know. So yeah, I was supposed to be talking about hell, but like as always, I tend to ramble on. Every verse, I could shoot off on all sorts of different topics just from that one verse, because the Bible is a very deep book. If you study it out, you will see there's so much content in some verses. It's crazy. You could preach for hours on just one verse. It is possible. So yeah, I'm already at like 36 minutes, so I already went like way over time. So yeah, I generally keep these to 30 minutes. But anyway, I just really wanted to get that verse in there. So it's a very, very interesting point. You got Jude verses 6 and 7 here. But yeah, so that's my second point, is that hell is eternal. So we talked about a lot of this video. We talked about Jonah being in hell, and then we talked about the devils, the fallen angels, and some aspects of their lives and in hell, and how you want to avoid that. It's eternal. You don't want to go there. And so I'm going to continue this series. We got a few more videos left in this series. My third point, that's my next point, is going to be that there is no escape from hell, and who goes there and all that. So I'm going to start talking more about the practical aspects of like the real life aspects. So far, I've been talking about kind of like the anatomy and the devils and the angels and all this like background information that's really interesting to study, but not not really like the sermon. It's not the fiery sermon material, for preaching the gospel. So yeah, that's what I'll be getting into. So I've got probably quite a bit of stuff to cover left. So, yep. So yeah, I'll see you next time.